the fight in Wisconsin. It is very much still on the front page. We are awaiting a press conference from the Wisconsin governor right now. This morning, he signed into law that controversial bill stripping the public employee unions of virtually all of their collective bargaining rights. And now we're told we could expect big labor to launch strikes following this successful effort by the Republicans to curb their rights. Those 14 AWOL Democratic state senators, well, they plan to be in Madison tomorrow for one huge rally on the Capitol steps. Joining me now to discuss it, our power panel. Sam Bennett, who is the CEO of the Women's Campaign Forum, Crystal Ball, who is a Democratic strategist and a former congressional candidate in Virginia, and Andrea Tantaros, a conservative columnist and a Fox News contributor. All right, panel, so the situation in Wisconsin came to a head this week, and Governor Walker basically decided to end the game of chicken and pulled the trigger. And now this collective bargaining, the thing the unions hated the most, is now officially law in Wisconsin. And that leaves us where, Sam?
Outrageous. I tell you what really irritates me this is the governor put a ribbon around this, Megyn, saying it was about the budget. It was not about the budget for a second. What is it? Wisconsin is the state where collective bargaining was born. And what they wanted to do was dismember that as a blow to the union movement. Now, why is that? Well, guess what? We have the 2012 elections coming up with Obama. That's a key state. They're trying to lay the groundwork for the 2012 elections. All right, all is fair, love, war, and politics. Maybe that's true. But collective bargaining is something the majority of Americans support and believe in. It's the bedrock. Our middle class was built on things like collective bargaining. And what really bothers me, and I have to believe bothers your viewership too, Megyn, is this. There are a few uber-rich individuals in this country who are pulling strings and pulling the far extreme right of the Republican Party to policies like this and the legislative nonsense that's been going on around H.R. 3, South Dakota, Georgia. Now
you
Texas.
Had Michael Moore. You had a millionaire going.
You had a chance to respond.
No. You had Michael Moore in the state of Wisconsin arguing on your behalf. It didn't work.
He wasn't arguing on my behalf.
This is it for the unions. This is a huge blow to the unions. The governor won fair and square.
It's a huge blow to this country.
It's what he ran on. It's what he ran on. It's what the people of Wisconsin voted him in.
It's a huge blow to this
You know what?
country.
But let's look at the bigger picture.
He won.
Look at
It
the bigger picture here, though, politically.
No.
In Wisconsin, was the battle lost by the unions? Yes, it was.
Yes.
But not
the
the
larger
war.
picture,
Not the war.
the labor movement was desperately looking for something that would galvanize and energize their support, and they were handed it on a silver platter.
There's no question politically they've gotten more support now, right, than they had before. But the question is as to whether this was unfair. I'm still struggling to understand.
Absolutely.
But what was unfair about it? Because as an outsider to the political process, it was. You can argue about whether the vote was within the rules or wasn't within the rules,
right.
But there was a vote. The lawmakers showed up and they voted.
No, but there were lawmakers that couldn't get in time for that vote.
But the Democrats who didn't, they left town, Sam.
The reason they left town, Sam, was because they were afraid of being humiliated.
Oh,
and they wouldn't come back.
Stop. No, it's not the truth.
That is absolutely
No, it's
the
not.
truth.
They were using the political mechanisms that that's not about a humiliation.
Oh, yes, it is.
No, it's not. It's about using the political tools they had at hand to prevent this from coming to vote. The thing that just really irritates me is the governor continued to wrap this up in a bow and present it to taxpayers as if it had anything to do with the budget. Had it absolutely nothing to do with the budget.
It has everything to do with the budget. It has absolutely everything.
Nothing.
In 1990, Governor Weld, similar thing happened. He screamed and moaned that Wisconsin mob was in Boston. He won. His popularity sagged. People went crazy, but he balanced the budget and was popular.
We have much more with our panel right after this break. 3 minutes away. All right, rejoining me now, our power panel. Sam Bennett, CEO of Women's Campaign Forum, Crystal Ball, Democratic strategist, former congressional candidate in Virginia, and Andrea Tantaros, conservative columnist, Fox News contributor. I want to move on to James Clapper, our intelligence chief. He's the director of national intelligence. 3 times a charm is what they say. He's now, some senators on the right are calling for him to resign in the wake of testimony he gave yesterday, where he said not only that he views our biggest threats as China and Russia, not North Korea, not Iran, but he said that he thinks that Gaddafi is likely to prevail in Libya, which they say is really sort of an impolitic thing to say when you've got Barack Obama saying Gaddafi must go, the regime must step down, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, right.
And he said all of this in response to questions from Democratic senators.
Right.
So what do you think, Sam?
I was listening to it on C-SPAN. my only objection to all this is it a broadside attack on Obama's judgment in putting him in this position? That being said, I have to be honest. He came off a little like a dinosaur in that hearing. So. But I'm a little concerned about.
Didn't we just have a big state dinner?
I said dinosaur. I said dinosaur.
But these are not fireable offenses, though. I mean,
but the cumulative effect, because he made a couple of other big blunders.
Yeah. He serves at the grace of the president. The president has said that he's someone who says what he feels is important to say, not what you necessarily want to hear. He seems like someone who shoots from the hip.
Like the vice president.
This administration gets criticism all the time for being too deliberative, not decisive enough, not speaking bluntly enough.
It's been sending mixed messages for a long time now. Look, I actually don't think this is fireable for Clapper. I think his comments before on the Muslim Brotherhood were crazy. I think not knowing
said they were secular.
The London sting was outrageous. This, I got to be honest. He's being honest.
Yeah.
Do we want him to lie? No. I mean, the fact that China and Russia are our biggest threat, that's like saying there's sand on the beach. He's right.